Everybody, good morning. I'm in Denver, just outside Denver. I'm very excited. I'm about to drive out to Longmont, Colorado, where we're going to tour what's called Jack's Solar Garden, and it is a producing and experiment or research facility. They're doing agrivoltaics, and this is like the coolest stuff. So imagine you see a whole field full of solar panels, right? Someone's gone in and flattened the earth and put up these panels. Well, imagine what would happen if you don't flatten the earth. You elevate the panels so you can walk under them or get equipment under them, and you plant things. You save a ton of water. It creates more shade for plants and even animals. So this is a great option, I think, for Arizona, a lot of the West, where we deal with water issues. Anyway, we're going to drive over there right now, and I get to interview Byron Komanek, who's one of the owners of Jack's Solar Garden. I'll see you over there. Well, okay, so I'm here with Byron Komanek.
Jack's Solar Garden.
Jack's Solar Garden. So the question is, who is Jack, and does he know that you're in his solar garden?
Jack was my grandfather. So my grandfather, Jack Stinger, he bought this land back in 1972 as his retirement. We got 24 acres here, and Jack passed away in 1980, so he has no clue that I'm around.
Would he like what you're doing?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Making use of the land. I mean, he was a businessman. He was a farmer and carpenter all his life, so just trying to figure out how to make a buck, live on land, and I would hope he'd appreciate what we got going on.
So what you got going on? How many kilowatts of power are you generating?
We have 1.2 megawatt
Wow.
community solar garden. It covers just over 4 acres of land. We sell our electricity to over 70 different clients, tying into Xcel Energy's utility grid. 1,200 kilowatts.
1,200 kilowatts. Okay, nice. And how many acres of land are you farming on then?
The whole farm is 24 acres. The solar array takes up just over 4 acres of land. I have 2 other pastures outside of it that I manage sheep and hay on. And within the solar array, we have about 2 acres that is under vegetable production, another fifth of an acre in herbs, acre and some under grassland, and a little bit in berry production.
Okay. So how much more expensive, if you were to put solar panels out on the land, how much more expensive is it to do this? I mean, I assume you're having to elevate all the structures higher so you can get under them?
Yeah, essentially our panels on one side at the north part are 6.5 feet when flat. On another portion, they're closer to 8 feet when flat. So elevating the panels up higher so you have space for machinery, animals, tall people like me.
Yeah.
It cost us close to 5% on top of what we would have normally paid. So if you look at dollars per watt, if you just look at our construction cost, that was about $1.40.
That's less than I expected. I was figuring like 20% more, but I suppose it depends on how high you have to mount them, right?
Yeah, it depends on the price of steel at the time, because as many feet as you have out of the ground is going to be in the ground. And then you have to consider OSHA regulations when you hit a certain height. Then contractors charge a bit more for safety precautions with their people.
Okay. Do you mind if we walk around and you can talk a little bit about the plants that because I assume it's pretty specific what you can grow under panels. You're not going to grow wheat and have tractors coming under here. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. Then I have some more kind of wrapping up questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay. We are walking over to research plot. This is all production right here. And we're going to walk behind the panels. So what do you do in the research plot? Obviously research, but what specific kind of research do you do?
We're learning about what variety of what crop does best in which of the microclimates underneath the solar panels. Certain areas get more water than others. We're measuring different environmental factors like temperature, humidity, soil moisture, soil heat flux, heat index, and all that's done through our research partner, the University of Arizona.
Okay. And now, so I've seen these articles about U of A doing this research in Arizona. It's a completely different calculation in terms of water,
all that kind
Seasons,
of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you
We
talk?
have winter here. They don't.
Yeah. Gets down to a frigid 60 something. And do you ever talk to them about that side of their work?
Oh yeah, it's a constant conversation in agrivoltaics of you can't simply do exactly what somebody has done in one climate in your climate.
Right.
Just like you can't grow beans the same way in Maine as you do in Arizona. There's different climatic factors, and it's the same thing with agrivoltaics.
Okay. Cool.
There are we're looking at 4 different varieties of dried beans that University of Arizona is studying. Each of the different posts delineates a different variety of a dried bean, and then each bed has a different microclimate. Throughout the course of the day, our 2 outer beds get closer to 50% of daily sunlight, the middle bed closer to 70%. This bed gets more morning sunlight than any of the other beds, while that one gets more afternoon sunlight.
Okay.
And also the panels are redistributing moisture off of them, where you have morning dew that comes closer to this bed, and you have afternoon rainstorms that hit that side.
If I could ask you something about, like, industrial agriculture wants big flat areas where they can get big machines in and just scoop it all up or plant the seeds or whatever. When you've got a system like this, is it more labor intensive? Is the food more expensive? I can hear some of the complaints or the opposition saying those things.
Folks always like to complain, right? No matter where you are in the world, that's the same. It's finding the right equipment for the right job.
Okay.
If you have a massive tractor that takes up 20 rows of panels, probably not good for agrivoltaics. It's fine. You have agriculture, go do it. In a solar array, you're going to have more confined spaces. You could separate the rows of panels further, but you're going to start minimizing the amount of energy produced per acre.
Gotcha.
And so the idea with solar is trying to maximize the energy production. So what we're doing here is trying to maximize our energy production while also continuing to make use of the land. You can still see between the posts here, there's 16 and a half feet. And when the panels are flat, there's 11 feet in between them. That's still space for a lot of different types of equipment to be able to roll through here. Okay. I used my 1973 Ford 3000 45 horsepower tractor to rip and till the land to prep it, and I could make 3 passes in here.
That's an incredibly specific piece of machinery you have.
Every piece of machinery is specific, yeah.
Cool. Well, let's go look at the research facility.
Sure. We're in a drought this season, and on the Front Range of Colorado, and it's interesting to see how drought plus the microclimates in the solar array impact the crop. So out here we have different varieties of potatoes. Again, each wood post delineates a different variety. If you look down this row, it's kind of easy to see that the row of potatoes on the right hand side that only gets afternoon sunlight is a lot darker, or is a lot browner. It's drying up faster. Whereas when you look to the middle and to the west bed on the left-hand side, they're still darker green. So you can still see that they're going to be growing longer versus these ones.
That is fascinating. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And when you read about these things, oh yeah, obviously that's the case. But to come out here and actually see it is pretty interesting.
That's part of what Jack Solar Garden is helping people to see it. Because again, everything here makes sense. We know the benefits of shade. It keeps things cooler. It keeps moisture in the ground longer. Simply, some people think that, things can't grow in the shade, and this is easy to show people. Well, here, this gets 50% of daily sunlight, and we can see it growing. It just depends on what part of the country you're in. If you're in the drier parts of the country where it's really hot, a lot of shade is helpful. If you're in the cloudy, wet parts of the Northeast, probably not as much.
Oh, cool.